Welcome to part 6, I think, of this children's bathroom rebuild. So we've demolished, we got more demolishing to do, and on the last episode we've ended with putting that backer board up everywhere, so it looks good. Today we haven't done anything at all in here because I've got something wrong with my foot. I was hoping to get on here, 8 or 10 a.m. in the morning and start working on tearing the rest of the floor out or part of the floor out, examining, the toilet flange and all kinds of stuff to see if we need to replace it, or how easy it would be to tear out the old flange. I'm sure it's not a screw-on type flange, so that kind of sucks. Has to be a glue-on in my mind. We'll see when we get the floor out. But the day is pretty much up, and the good news is that we've sort of decided to get a brand new bathtub and a brand new surround. So the biggest issue here is I've got vinyl to go up here, as long as I can cut it and make it look decent. But this is beige on the sides. Anyway, the original sides here, wall panels, which I guess are waterproof, as long as you don't have issues causing them to rot. But they are beige, and they probably have yellowed a little bit over the last 30 or so years. And we're putting white wallboard, I don't know if it's plastic or PVC, in the back. So you're going to have white, yellow, beige. So we're going to, instead of trying to paint it, I think we need to put white, and white wallboard here. Just you might be saying, well, why do you even need to put a wallboard anywhere? The problem is the surrounds only come up so many feet and inches. Above that surround, they want you, or they assume you just have the original wallboard, and you're just going to use it. But if you have to demolish part of it or all of it, you have to start from scratch and put some kind of wallboard or sheetrock and paint it, and put maybe weather-resistant sheetrock, weather-resistant paint, something back there. So after we figure out where those surround walls end, we probably need to cut the wallboard from the ceiling to match where the surround is installed. So I am filling in some more gaps, screws in this backer board, just finishing up. It's not the most sturdy thing, and now I'm seeing if I would have went with that really thin 4x8 paneling, I probably should have went with a 1/2 inch instead of 1/4 inch. Any areas here that, like between studs, you can push in a little bit and it flexes. So I'm kind of glad we are going with the surround. So I'd put more screws in. There's probably no more than like 7 or so inches between any studs or boards that should be flush with the back of this wall here. Now there may be just some random ones that we miss, and I think maybe we should put one there and there, but we'll have time to do that later. I'm thinking I probably should have put those other cross sections that I recessed in there just flush, so that we would have even more space, because I don't know if you can see that that flex there, but maybe it won't even matter. So I also kind of peered under the floor there in that direction with a little bit of a light, and I have a vent there, but apparently I think these 2x6s go over that vent, so the vent must hang down a little below 6 inches to allow for these to go 12 foot or somewhere around that 12 foot length across to the next wood wood frame or whatever, bottom wall frame. I guess it's not technically a wall frame if there's walls randomly and open spaces randomly, so maybe not. Whatever, the bottom frame or toilet is still online, basically active right now, so I'm trying to figure out a strategical way to get into the floor, finish that, joist up, put another floor down, and all in time while minimizing the downtime of the toilet, and we have a new toilet outside in a barn that is still in the box. I think that we are blurry. Maybe I don't have enough light here. I think that we need to have that 2x6x12 ready so we can just cut between the wall there and the actual middle of that joist section or whatever. And we can just quickly put that 2x6x12 back in, and we can either quickly try to finish the floor over like a 1 or 2 day period maybe, or patch it back up until we can get back in there. I'm not sure how we're going to cut the plywood that goes in that. Do we cut the pipes lower or higher, put a coupler there, drill a hole that's about the same diameter as the pipe, a little bigger maybe, with a hole saw? But there's also naturally a hole here where your P-trap from your toilet goes. So I don't know what we do there. I'm assuming once we get all of the floor joists in here, we're going to put a level on it, and we may end up shimming anywhere to level it versus fighting the actual floor joists. I'm assuming there's going to be some unlevelness to this because it's an old place anyway. Well, that's about it for tonight, so we'll start maybe tomorrow. I'm not sure. We'll see how I feel. I feel a little bit better tonight. I started at like 10 p.m. after doing a tiny bit of videoing in this part, and did those screws in the wall. So it's the next day, and I gotta figure out how to move things around here. I got a lot of crap in my way to do things. I think I'm gonna just salvage or keep that little piece of shower board we cut out somewhere else for a short while, just in case we need to patch one of these left or right areas before we put vinyl or plastic or whatever we're going to do down. Or rather, that would be in one of these low areas where the surround in the tub is going to cover. So just to patch something so I don't have to buy something else if I have to use it for a rotten area. Well, this 40% faster cutting blade, brand new, is not cutting through the subfloor. It looks like our reciprocating saw and skill saws are what we're going to have, and maybe we use that multi-tool to fine-tune, chip away little spots that are too far out. Alright, we've adjusted our depth here on our blade so it'll give us a shallower cut. Maybe we can get a little bit more precision here with it shorter. So I cut a small access hole, maybe 12-13 inches here, and I'm going to have to chip away this edge here to try to get it better. I noticed there's like these boards that came across. That one's rotten. What are they, like 1x4, 1x6? I can't tell. And then there's like a board there. This isn't rotten, so I think I might just chip away this plywood in a somewhat straight line and reinforce that under there, because I did cut in there with reciprocating saw just a little bit, and go to that stud to this stud and create my own little frame here to put a 2x4 or a combination of 2x4s and 2x6s. Here's an issue here. If I put a 2x6 here, I'm going to probably have to move all that stuff. We'll see if I can get a 2x4 in there or not, so that it's half on that other side of the wall and half, or 3/4 on this side. So when we put that plywood down here, it's flush. Again, we're going to have to replace probably 8 to 10 inches of this sheetrock in a straight line. So I'm on the exterior side of the wall here, and I'm blocking these two together with this block and 4 screws, so I can take the other side block out and figure out where I'm going to put the other two. And we put that block there early on just to hold, you know, the new frame that we rebuilt with the old frame, kind of keep them level with each other. Well, I've been fighting this damn floor for about 2.5 hours. And they should be 2x6s. It should have space for it, but in that last little section there, it's kind of shooting up off level, so I'm probably going to have to either cut it out or chisel the top, change it to something else. I am not sure right now. This thing is very frustrating. I kind of wonder if whatever made that original floor joist there off level is causing issues over here trying to get a 2x6 in there. Well, we're in another morning, and last night I picked up a PEX cutter tool and a reaming tool for, you know, when we do cut the copper. I think I got a copper pipe cutter if I can find it, or I might just have to borrow one because I didn't want to spend another 15 or 20 bucks on one. So we'll have to use this little reamer tool, maybe some sandpaper on the outer side, and this will ream, I guess, PVC and PEX too. I have no idea if I'm going to get any work done today or how much work I'm going to get done. We have to pick up, I think, the tub and surround today, so we are getting a new one as long as the surround came in. The tub's already in at the business, and we decided just to go pick them up both versus making 2 trips. And we've decided to sort of expand out, and there's some rot, you know, in the hallway area by our water heater. Now the water heater has leaked 3 or 4 times over the years. I've replaced it with PEX to polybutylene adapters and stuff, and shark bite adapters, and this is also an area that has had the cheapest like sheet vinyl over like a very thin layer of like cardboard like material. So anytime you installed it and creased it just a little bit, it would have like a permanent crease in it. That's terrible quality, cheap stuff, and it wheelchairs and time, you just get little holes and slits in it, and anywhere where that happens, any moisture goes underneath that vinyl or whatever it is, and it rots. So luckily, I think this is the only spot, maybe about a 13 or 14 by maybe a 8 or 10 inch area here we're going to cut out. Make sure we put studs on here. I'm not sure when we're going to do that, but I'm going to test other areas with a hammer and just look and see if I need to replace anything under the water heater, which would suck. Yeah, I'm looking over here on that last cut I made by the drain, and look, it's just not even maybe an 1/8 of an inch or less off. So I'll probably, once I get the rest of these flooring pieces off, make sure it's level there, because it could be low here, but the level is level, so we're either going to have to cut that little section where it hangs onto the metal off so I can get it about an 1/8 of an inch lower, or maybe plane or sand that. I'm not sure yet. But we're going to have to get more of this floor up so I can level this off, see where the rot ends, cut it, level it with this board, and then go across somewhere, whether it's here or to give it some more sturdiness. So I do not want to put that cross board up until I got this pretty much right. So we removed the toilet, put a bag over there, got like a little vacuum in there so it won't leak gases. We're gonna, you know, use some bleach water or something to clean, sanitize that area. But right now I'm gonna try to see if I can straighten that board up with the other board and see how far back the rot goes on this one. Oh my god, this is one of the hardest ones so far, but I think we got it. We used all kinds of handles and tricks, pulling with, you know, putting a board across here, pulling this one up wherever it wasn't rotting. Now we probably couldn't have used it at the tip there, but after 3 or 4 attempts and pushing and making handles, we finally got it. And lots of screws in there on both sides. Right. So I just used a scrap piece of 2x10, and it's a little lower on that side where the screw pulled in, but that's okay. This is just for support anyway. So now we got to figure out this double joist here, 2x6. See where the rot sort of ends, cut that off. I don't want to go past this metal rod though until I have something to support it. I just did the hammer test here to see where it's like coming loose at, so it is probably past that. But like I said, I'm not going to cut here or wherever. I'm going to make some bracings probably on both sides and before I cut or whatever. So attach it pretty good. All right, we got this attached and somewhat level with it. I think we're probably going to reciprocate saw, something like that. So we put all the screws, support screws here. All right, so we got to support it with a little piece of scrap, and then we got two 2x6 going that way. We basically have maybe some kind of little boxed in area we need to finish over there by the drain, and then we work on the other side. Got to clean up all the sawdust and all where this toilet was and work on that. When I get this other side here finished, you know, with reciprocating saw or whatever I can to cut everything flush down the wall there, then, you know, once that is clean, and then we're going to just rip out the rest of this floor, I think, and see what, if we need a new toilet flange, piping or what down there. But I got a bunch of mess and tools here I got to clean up. And the old drill battery is almost dead. And then when we find that 48-inch mark or whatever where the plywood ends, I think it'll be right before the actual toilet flange hole. Then we got to put these support bars right between the two pieces of plywood across each joist here. And that'll strengthen the seams up, and it'll strengthen the whole floor up as well. We have to definitely make sure there's no like rotting joist right here where the toilet's sat. And it's possible there are sections that are rotted that we're going to have to repair. It is the next morning, and I got my wrist brace on. A lot of, you know, hammering, prying, using reciprocating saw, skill saw, multi-tool. Just flared up my arthritis in my right wrist. I was hoping last night, I said, you know, I think I want to try to get at least the toilet, and, you know, if we get the tub and surrounding in time, installed within 3 days, so we can kind of take everything a little bit slower and do the finishing touches, you know, putting the new faucet in and handicap bars, and painting and all that can come later. We just need kind of 2 toilets for a 5-person household here. The surround did not come in at the parts store yesterday like it was supposed to, and he couldn't guarantee it would be here today. He said maybe today. So the tub is already there, but we just did not want to go and make 2 trips. So maybe by the end of the day we'll at least have those things, and I can go get some other parts, some, you know, hole saws and stuff like that, things that I need, that I know I'm going to need to cut the toilet flange, the new hole out. I don't think I'm going to use the old flange, but if I do, I'm going to have to get a metal cutting blade and cut the bolts off that I can't get out. Some of them are rusted, some of them have really low heads on them, and I tried to impact my impact driver and everything. I couldn't get it without stripping everything out, so it might be better just to start new with a new flange. So yeah, there's a lot of things we can still do without it, you know, without having everything, but there's, you know, a lot of hand and wrist work and, you know, jigsaws or whatever we need to do to cut out the drain for the tub and everything else, and especially that side area, cutting all the way down that 8-foot section with the multi-tool that seems to be slow as Christmas and vibrates the heck out of my hands and wrists and whole body. So we have taken out the flange here, and we got a bag over the actual pipe here, and there's the flange that we cut off. And we were thinking, well, are we just going to put a coupling on it and then put a new flange on? but I think the flange came out in pretty good condition. So all we are going to do is put a coupling on the old pipe, I think, and we'll put that on and glue it on probably before we even get the other part installed, and then put the floor down. And we got a cat there in our way, wants to be on camera, right? There are a couple issues I think here. One is at the 48-inch mark, it's still where we're going to be bolting in the flange to the new floor. So if we're going to go in one piece, we're going to be cutting that hole right at the edge, and you're hoping we don't rip something. We would probably have to put some more support boards. There's one there, I'm not sure how far it goes in. We might have to put another one like right here. And the second issue is if we do a single 48-inch board here, we're not going to be able to access that pipe to hold it when we put the this piece back into the coupling. It might be fine. We might do some dry fitting and see, but worst case scenario, we're going to have to cut it off somewhere over here, have a second board here and a third board here, so we can open this area up while this floor is down, and secure it, hold the pipe underneath there where you can kind of see it with a little bit of a light and you can grab it. Possibly another option is to leave this whole area open until we just install a block here, going from this furthest most stud here to maybe all the way against the wall there, and then fill this in that way, fill that in this way. So we'll have, I'm guessing, at least 1, 2, probably 4 pieces of plywood versus 2 that way. I'd prefer it to go in 2 pieces, because the seams, there can always be some kind of issue of humps and seams and maybe needing to sand something down. But it may be easier to line up that pipe with a little smaller piece of wood, and if you make a mistake, it's a small area you're going to have to redo or replace, versus using a big piece of plywood and potentially messing it up. And everywhere you put a separate piece of plywood where there's a seam and it's not supported, you need to add your support bars going the opposite direction between floor joists. On the opposite side there, because we're not going through the threshold, we'll have about 2 extra inches we'll have to cut off on the other piece of plywood. So it's about 2 inches shy of 4 feet, or should I say 8 foot. And you use a full 48-inch piece, you go here, and then 46 or so inches from the edge of that there to the back wall. Unfortunately, the water lines are running right beside that pipe right there, kind of tight. So I'm glad when I sawed that pipe off, I didn't nick the water lines. And this is the polybutylene, which nobody likes anymore. They've replaced it with just PVC and PEX. And the reason why we can't access this from the opposite floor is because there's a box here, and then there's a floor vent or underneath vent there for the vents. Well, this job is kicking my butt. I guess because so much of the stuff over here is not rotted, and we're trying to do that multi-tool on the edge. So I think I'm probably going to just make a box somewhere around here and hit that stud there maybe, and where we could potentially go with a cabinet vanity or something there later on. So we may keep a big section, a block of wood here, but it depends on what we hit over here too as well when we go to cutting it. I really don't want to spend an extra 4 or 5 days just chipping away the sides. I need to get it chipped away where we've already cut it, go a little bit further maybe, And like I said, do that maybe box in that area where we can enclose it later with a vanity, even if we have to custom build a vanity later. Stressed out right now, my body is aching, and I'm definitely can't wait for this part of the job to be done. All right, it's the next morning, and I went out and got another blade for that multi-tool in Milwaukee. This is a more expensive one. I think these are like 24 bucks, so I hope that I'm not wasting my money. If I am, I'm not going to buy any more multi-tool blades. Well, it's doing a lot faster, maybe 3 to 5 times faster or more, but it's still a slow process. But I think it makes it reasonable and not super frustrating, at least. And it's 9 p.m. or a little bit after, and I've only got 20 minutes or so worth of work done today in here. Had to go get that blade, then I forgot my contact cement and another coupling for the sink drain, so I got those. And it's just so hectic in this house. I plan to have all this cleaned up, all this floor taken out, and be installing at least the first sheet. You know, I have to do that for the first sheet of flooring down, but I knew when the sun was fixing to start going down that, you know, the other half was not going to play ball and let me get more stuff done. I was hoping, you know, to have some progress to show you guys instead of just the stress and the issues we've been having before we at least released the next part in this video. So I guess we'll continue on for another day or two, and maybe we'll have something to actually upload so we can show you some real progress. It is the next morning, and I got these little, I'm starting to put these little 2x across here, so that'll be give the floor, subfloor, an area to screw in and to hold it, to keep it from sagging at the edges. So this one we're going to have to do some tricks to make a little box. So I'm trying to figure that out yet right now. Well, I made my own little box. Looks like the kids have already got that and drawn on it. And hopefully that will add some sturdiness. I know it's not going to be the same as going from the furthest joist, but I can't really access that one. Well, I rough cut out a few places, including the toilet flange, using the old subfloor as kind of a thing to mark it with. And I didn't get a perfect cut with this jigsaw because it's not rotating anymore. It's kind of froze up, so I kind of had to hand rotate it. But it should be fine, hopefully. All right, we got it probably half screwed in. I lost my 2-inch screws. I don't know where we put them, so I used some 3-inch screws. But I also have to save some of the 3-inch screws for some more stuff, so I'll probably have to go to the store sometime soon and get 2-inch and 3-inch screws. The floor did not quite line up on that wall the way I want it to, so it probably shifted the flange this way just maybe 3/4 of an inch. I hope it's not a problem. Hopefully the pipe will move a little bit more and allow me to still get that piece in the coupler. We got the second piece cut there, and I did notch out that to make it hopefully easier to get the lines, or to not mess with the border lines except one. I've been kind of rushed, so I said, well, I'm just going to kind of do a rush job. This should be under the vanity when we build it anyway, so hopefully we'll be none the wiser. Is that the term? So it is past midnight and I am still working. I messed up. I cut the wrong side of my 54-inch board. I was supposed to cut the 48-inch side off to 46, and it messed up everything. So we got to put multiple pieces of flooring in to try to get it done. And I was wondering why there was such a wide spacing here between these two joists. That's 17 inches. That's way too much of a space. So I think I'm gonna have to put an extra brace here, not just there where the flooring's gonna go. and I'm scrambling to sort of get the floor sealed away, you know, because our small kitten, one of our youngest sons, was playing with the kitten and he threw him down that bath drain hole, and that goes underneath the house. So an hour and a half, 2 hours later, we finally got our kitten, but we were lucky, I guess. Well, here we kind of got it. We still got a little section there. We got some areas that are raised up that I have to, hope I don't have to pull the floor out again, but I'm gonna try to do the oscillating saw or multi-tool, maybe the reciprocating saw, whatever I can to try to get those areas, maybe even use a skill saw, get those areas low so that this floor can go flat down. This first floor seems to be pretty much level, but there's definitely some raising in this right side, maybe in the middle there in the back too. And it's the next morning, and here's our bathtub. Well, here's the tub, and major issue. They're really supposed to tear all the walls out and strip it down to the studs. I don't think it's gonna be a huge problem. You know, the exterior wall, the biggest reason you would want to strip it out there is so that you can, I guess, put adhesive on the legs and level it up from the exterior wall. Not sure what they would do in a bathroom that had, you know, rooms on each side and you didn't want to tear out the drywall and everything to get to it. But this tub is basically the same size as the room. No way I've been able to twist and turn and try to get it to go in. So it has to probably have to go in, you know, in between the studs here somewhere. So that means probably cutting it pretty high up on this wall panel here, taking the molding off and maybe patching it back, at least a partial section. And it doesn't matter if there's going to be a seam or anything, because we're going to have a surround here and the upper section will be vinyl or plastic white, just to make everything look. Now once I get it flush, then I may just cut this fiber cement board down low so that I could put that adhesive on, or if it's unlevel or something, and just leave that one section out. But I don't think I'll have to take this whole section out. It's just going to need to be unscrewed, cut at a seam or whatever, I think. And so, you know, it is what it is. We got to try to do this. Well, I didn't expect it to have sheetrock behind it. Well, we had to go all the way down on both sides. That doorway there is just where we cut. We didn't really need to cut that piece, but all this is going to be covered up anyway. So what a pain in the butt. We'll definitely have to level it, hold it up, screw it in, but we need to make sure we got the drain and everything done, make sure it's level. Then I'm going to try to put the sheetrock and stuff back under there, because there's a big crack. We need it to be nice and snug, tight. Doesn't have to be super great as long as everything's level and secure, because that surround should just go around it. Well, I put the little drain system here, just the drain piece on the tub, and because it's acrylic, apparently you're not supposed to use plumber's putty, so we use silicone and hope for the best. Look at all of that wet floor. Have our first major leak, and we put polybutylene to PEX adapters and shut-off valves here, and freaking it's just such a tight and dark area that we couldn't really line the tool up, the crimper tool, on the ring. I did the same ring twice because it acted like it hadn't been used. Then I just went ahead and went with the black ring that came on the polybutylene side and just finessed it for a long time. Was careful to try to line it up the best of my ability, and I think I finally got it. hot water everywhere. And just because you have these Pro Grip rings or cheater rings doesn't mean they're going to work if you don't get that tool lined up. And the tool itself seems to be a little bit wider than the rings. So you need this right in the middle where that makes that connection. Go a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, and it doesn't even hold it all, it seems. Well, if there weren't enough problems already, the people gave me the wrong size P-trap and swivel adapter, 2.5 inches. I told them, you know, the year, make, model of this double wide, and they said, this is what you need. But I think what I actually have is a 1.5 inch system. So do I change, you know, adapt to 2.5, get new pipes and everything, or do I go try to see if this place has a 1.5 inch everything? But that's about all I can do tonight, since I don't know what my options are right now, and I'm getting low on funds for the month, so not good. It's the next morning and we're flooded again. One of those valves actually got turned. I don't know if a dog or cat, if it just leaned toward that pipe this morning and flooded us out again. So we kind of taped them up there in hopes that it won't happen again. So we cut a hole in the skirting so we can see daylight out there, and we're going to tack it back up later. This should give us access right next to the tub drain. And we got it dry fitted again. Let's take a level. In two directions it's pretty close, pretty level, but in another two directions it's slightly off. My ceramic blade's about dull, but I might be able to make a small, like a box cut, maybe in the middle section here, so I can access each side. So take the tub back up, re-level it with some shims, caulk it, see what we got. 4 trips to the hardware store today. Let's see if we can make this work. What a pain in the butt. I'm not even 100% sure that the screw there onto the bathtub drain is not crooked a little bit. The threading is so tight there, you could probably see. I guess we need to do a water test and see what happens. Yep, we are leaking. So we probably got that threaded crooked. Well, this is the second time a charm. I don't see any leaks. That is a tight fit. Maybe we got it.
I see a light.
Well, this is the back of the back section of the surround. Got to measuring it, and of course we're gonna run into more problems. It's 60 inches, but it has about a 1 inch lip to go over the tub. So it's gonna come up somewhere around that area where the window is. So there's no way I'm gonna try to destroy a $400 or $500 surround to try to make that window work. So it looks like we're going to be filling in the window here, and it probably also means that we're going to take the complete siding off the opposite side versus cutting a half piece or 1/3 and just doing it top to bottom so that we have everything filled in here. The window got broke. It probably would work if we fixed it or replaced it, but we'll just do an all clean, all new install, just not have a window in there. All right, so I used a scrap piece of flooring, plywood there. Not perfect, but hopefully that'll meet at that 59-inch mark all the way across. All right, so we're test fitting the back here, and it's kind of just hanging loose. We have to put these strips, these water strips on each side before the sidewalls go in. I'm just kind of wondering if I can put this back and this side in and then work on this faucet and stuff later. As you can see, that piece of plywood goes about midsection there. Back to the music room. This is gonna be fun. Getting all that stuff out and down, getting that stand down, getting the guitar out of the way, maybe that one out of the way, so we can access this whole panel. Now, I may be able to pull this wall out without moving this, but we'll see. I definitely have to take this guitar hanger off of the studs for that. I was thinking about just cutting across here, but I don't know how easy it would be to access the shower, which is somewhere around there. We got really lucky with our screw placements because, you know, if they would have been like right here, we wouldn't be able to access them. But there was one right here we had to angle up, but we didn't have a whole lot of screws, so. All right, we got all the threads off. There's a little bit of water there from the shower. Let's see if we can pull it from the air vent. Was kind of on the way to get to that one right there. There we go. So bad news here is, look, there is an electric line that either has to be between that faucet area or on the outside of it. Can we pull enough slack to put this? I don't see a great option either way. Well, that little 1x there is probably not rotten. It is definitely weakened with water over time. I'm going to put another 1x, I think, at least a short distance wherever I'm going to put screws, so it'll go through the wall board, this, and then ultimately another board, so the pressure of the screws, the tub and stuff, won't just crack that and just spin. So put that little block there, put 2 screws to hold on this side, and we did go a little bit further, but it seemed to tighten up pretty good there. We got to move that dry fitted surround at the back before we can probably access that one, if we can access it at all. Now this shower is going to be tricky because I don't have one of those crimp ring removers. I just put something up there, maybe. I don't even know if that'd be compatible with PEX since it's polybutylene. But, you know, the bad thing here is this is MPT, which would hook to that before we put these PEX adapters on. You know, you see they're screwed in with plumber's tape. But I don't think I'm going to be able to get that, to angle that down. That's liable to just cause a major leak. So we may just have to, short of replacing this whole system, which means going to town, Gainesville or something, may just have to get a polybutylene to PEX adapter, another one. I think I only bought 2, but I'll quickly check. So I may have to do another one for this. Yep, no extras. I just bought the 2 that I needed at the time, and I guess I need a 3rd one. And I just got PEX elbows and a couple crimp rings left, but the adapters, polybutylene to PEX, come with their own crimp rings, at least from Apollo. Hopefully wherever locally I get these, if I can get some today, will be, we'll have the crimp rings with them, or I'll have to buy more. Well, we've made 5 trips to various hardware stores locally, and like 2 or 3 of those trips were for nothing, including today. They did not have the part. They were going to send me to another town. I said, I'll just wait till tomorrow, go to Home Depot in Gainesville, versus messing with these little local places that cost, you know, $1, $2, $3, $4 more per part, because I need probably 3 things, and it's going to be like $8 or $10 more to get them locally, if they had them in stock. All right, so I kind of dry fitted these guys. It is kind of a wide angle with these things. Not sure if I'm going to use the elbow later or not, but I'll probably have to cut it down if that's the case. But I got those crimped in right there with the ring crimps. And of course, this is going to go behind the vent when I actually install it, but I can't go in too far without having the hole for that, the cutout for that little area. And they cut the polybutylene pipe to get close to this PEX here. Might have to cut another 1/2 inch. I got it down here. I don't have it crimped yet, but I do have the ring there, so we kind of know where it's at. I think we've decided to go ahead and go out of town to Gainesville to maybe get some more hardware supplies for this, Wasn't really in our plans, but maybe we can get the stuff to finish this faucet install and hopefully get the tub surround stuff too. Well, 6th trip to a hardware store in about the last 24 hours. Got some wood shims. Hope one thing of caulk is going to do. This is FRM or Power Grab Tub and Surround adhesive. My polybutylene capex adapter, 1/2 inch, and more 1/2 inch pro crimp rings. Plus some bolts I hope will work for Natalie's grab bar.